Hey, Chris.
Hey Tim, it's good to be back on the podcast.
We've had a bit of a hiatus, haven't we?
We have, but we're back and fully fueled.
Back in action, tan, rested, and ready. That's maybe true in your case since you live in the tropics or in the equator. Do you consider Singapore the tropics?
It's tropical.
I guess
There's not
so.
much jungle. We
Not
are
much on
we
the
are near
left.
the equator, so you got to watch out for sunburn.
Uh, all right. So today we're going to talk about a topic that kind of comes and goes a bit in the trade secret world, but it's a really fun and fascinating topic of inevitable disclosure. So the inevitable disclosure doctrine. Tell us about it, and maybe take us back to 1902 to kind of get started on this journey.
Yeah, definitely. And we always talk about trade secrets being a fairly new thing. Like DTSA is pretty recent. Other analogs, even UTSA, was not that far behind. So a lot of people feel like trade secrets really are coming to light in the last 5 years or so, coincidentally, when we founded Tangibly. The reality is, trade secrets have been around for a long, long time. And when I looked for the oldest case of inevitable disclosure, I was shocked to find it all the way back in 1902. Like it's
Amazing.
the dinosaur era of trade secret law. But this guy was switching jobs from one sugar refinery to another competing sugar refinery and was blocked because the first one, the ex-employer said, it's inevitable that you're going to disclose my, what we now call trade secrets when you switch jobs to the other sugar refinery. So this goes way, way back. And it's just a great example of how even industry has changed and the world has changed a lot. It's unrecognizable since 1902, but these fundamental principles were still in play.
So it's like it's the original non-compete agreement.
Yeah, this is the OG of non-competes back in 1902.
I love it. That's awesome. Yeah, I was just poking around the litigation literature, and it's been just sort of past 5 years. If you look at inevitable disclosure doctrine or just inevitable disclosure, it's been pretty consistently applied over the last 5 years. And so, but it's kind of been interesting to kind of look at what's going on in relation to DTSA and this doctrine and how it gets applied and whether it's successful or not. And so maybe talk to us a little bit about this sort of, the factors that apply when you're talking inevitable disclosure.
Sure, and really, this whole concept kind of transmogrifies trade secret into a non-compete. Like that's fundamentally what's happening if you boil it all the way down.
Yeah, it's
And
interesting.
and what really happens is you look at these three factors. So an employee is leaving first company and is joining the second company. And the three factors you need to look at are, are the two companies direct competitors? Are the roles that this person is taking identical or nearly identical? And are the trade secrets valuable to both companies? And if the answer is yes, yes, and yes, the argument is that it's inevitable that this employee will either make, use, or disclose the trade secrets in the new job. Like it's just unavoidable.
It's going to happen. Yeah.
And the funny thing is, if you look at like DTSA language, it's really meant to cover either actual misappropriation or threatened misappropriation. So this concept that we're talking about is really trying to shoehorn or to expand the coverage of threatened misappropriation to include inevitable disclosure. Because the employee actually hasn't really done anything wrong yet, other than leave one
Take the
job
job.
and start another one. I mean, that's
Right.
that's all the activity has happened. Because if they had actually used the trade secret, you would just sue directly under trade secret misappropriation and have an easy time of it. But
Right.
here it's interesting because nothing really that bad has happened. But
Yeah.
the
Other than
the
somebody
trades,
moved jobs.
yeah, I mean, you're upset that this great employee has changed jobs, and and
Right.
left your company, but that's the extent of the bad action. So it's really an interesting thought exercise as to whether this doctrine is great or not. And it varies by state. So some states, not surprisingly led by California, take a really downward view of this doctrine and says you can't use this inevitable disclosure, period.
Yeah.
Oregon, Maine, and a few others also. But then other ones like Illinois, Pennsylvania, New York say it's okay because you shouldn't have to wait for the damage to happen in order to stop the new company from employing this key employee. So it does vary somewhat by state.
It's interesting. Yeah. And this is all the headlines of the last, I don't know, month to two is all of the movement within the big tech and the AI companies, and those all seem to fit the test. Direct competitors, yes. Nearly identical job, yes.
Absolutely.
Trade secrets clearly valuable in the world of AI, yes, right? So it does feel like, wow, all of the probably most important trends in technology today, um, with certainly, AI being at the top, there's such huge movement of people to like direct competitors, right? And so, yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if we see people trying to use this more and more. But I think what you're getting at too is the threatened part. Is it seems like that's really the hurdle, right? Is there really a true threat that this person is going to go use my trade secrets? And that's a pretty that's a isn't that a steep sort of bar? Isn't that like, hey, we need something in writing to show that, yeah, they're often gonna misappropriate our stuff, or is it a little more loosey goosey?
Well, and that's the rub here is people are trying to stretch what threatened actually means because it's rare that people threaten. Like they either do it or they don't do it. They don't usually advertise it or
Yeah, and if they do
threaten.
it, they don't
Yeah,
advertise, right? Yeah.
exactly. So they usually jump right to actual misappropriation and skip the whole threatened part. And really, to me, this is useful, or you'd try to use this if you're in a state that doesn't allow non-competes. Because again, this is trying to make a trade secret misappropriation function like a non-compete agreement. And as across the US and even at the federal level, there's more and more pressure to get rid of non-competes across the board, like to just wipe them out or really limit their application. So I think as non-competes become more difficult or unenforceable, companies are looking for other ways of doing the same thing. And one of them is to say this is a trade secret misappropriation instead of a non-compete issue. Again, they're trying to extend threatened to mean just take a new job at a key competitor.
Yeah, not being too self-serving in a tangibly sense, but it does feel a little bit like if you're going to go try to argue inevitable disclosure, having a trade secret program, having your trade secrets pretty well understood and documented to whatever extent, seems like it would certainly help that argument, wouldn't it?
Oh, totally. And a lot of companies either don't have non-competes or if they have non-competes, they have no value. So if that's true, then you're forced to defend your trade secrets directly. And that's the trend we've been seeing. So you don't want to wait until the misappropriation happens to get your house in order on trade secrets. All the court cases are saying you have to be proactive in identifying and managing your trade secrets like the valuable assets that they are. So this all indirectly or sort of directly is consistent with that narrative of you know you have to treat trade secrets seriously before you have a problem.
So one more thing. So back to DTSA. So if I'm going to file a DTSA claim, then is what you're saying that having this threat be pretty well evidenced is critical, and that's only in some states.
Yeah, well, if you have a non-compete that is enforceable, life is simple. So you just go after the the moving employee and the new employer, and life is good.
Yeah.
If you don't have that, and there hasn't been actual misappropriation, or at least you don't have evidence of it, then depending on which state you're in, you can try to use this inevitable disclosure doctrine to get you into a DSA arena.
Yes. But what we've seen in the last sort of few years is that yeah, there are good luck in some places, right?
Well, or no luck at all.
But no luck.
So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
if you're in California, this will not fly, just flat out. So in that case, you have to, you know, do a normal trade secret misappropriation with proper evidence.
Right. Some cause of action and
Uh-huh.
yeah, yeah. Okay, so what about the I think what gets and actually the folks at Mintz, I saw a nice review. It's a 2022 review on some DTSA cases around inevitable disclosure. Um, uh, but this PepsiCo case gets used often as sort of the landmark case in this space. What is it?
Yeah, it really is. So there was a very senior executive at Pepsi who went to Quaker Oats to do a very similar or identical job. And of course, Quaker and Pepsi are arch enemies. So it's sort of the perfect example of applying this kind of principle. So it's cited all the time, even though it's a little bit old, certainly not 1902 old,
Yeah.
but it
95,
is
yeah.
it's from 95, but it's like the classic situation. But I think it's really interesting that the targets, the people that you're going after, using this principle has changed. So historically, all the way back to 1902, and certainly with Pepsi, the people you were concerned about were the super high executives. So like, CEO or certainly C-suite people moving to an arch rival. What we're seeing though is now, especially with all of the AI mobility, is it's not the super senior people, it's just really talented engineers doing things like AI. So it's almost like there's a trickle down effect going on where it's not only the super senior execs, but also some of the line working people who are super valuable and are super mobile to going to a competitor. It's almost like the scope of people is is growing dramatically just in the last couple of years.
Yeah. So because you mentioned it, back to non-compete for a minute, isn't isn't sort of the state of affairs on non-competes like more or less like they're going away if they're not already gone?
Yeah, they're certainly being tightened or going away completely, and there's still efforts to just ban them outright because they prevent people from moving around and getting jobs and feeding their
Right.
families. So there's a real strong movement across the whole US to really rein them in.
Yeah, and isn't that a provision within DTSA? Is like you can't prevent people from working?
Well, that's the whole idea is you want employees to have a reasonable level of mobility as long as they don't bring trade secrets with them. So that's always been the case. And the trend is that non-competes are gradually going away or being tightened severely because we want to encourage people to be able to move jobs and still feed their families.
So maybe tying this off, it feels a little bit like if you've got the right set of circumstances, right? You've kind of met the three hurdles you've mentioned, and you're in the right venue, then this argument has a chance, right? But if you're not in the right venue, probably not good luck.
Well, that's certainly true. And then if you are lucky enough to have a non-compete that's enforceable, you don't even need this because, you know,
Right.
litigating a non-compete is relatively simple
Yeah.
because the facts are, this person agreed not to move, but they still moved to the named competitor. So life is easy. But you're right, like it's almost like all the stars have to align properly in order to use this concept to get you into a arena.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
really interesting though.
Yeah. Super interesting. All right, Chris. Good. Let's tie this one off, man. So, inevitable disclosure doctrine. We can check the box.
It
Awesome,
was
man.
inevitable.
It was 100%.
Okay.
Hey, buddy.
We'll
See ya.
see you on the next one. Bye now.
All right. Later.